Hey y'all, we're picking up on Mercury retrograde. And if you're just dropping in, Mercury is a planet related to communication. He's a messenger and he can be a trickster as well. More layers to Mercury, but we'll leave it at that. What we're doing is following Mercury's transit through his retrograde, which will be finished up here in a day when you're watching this video. And then we'll have a chance to follow him back through as he passes over the same part of the sky that he retrograded through. We'll be talking about some of the themes of the degrees of Scorpio where he has been retrograding through. There's a possibility that some of these themes have come up for you in your internal or external worlds. And if they have, and you're uncovering new layers of depth within them, within your personal communication style, habits, what have you. It can be journaling, it can be how you connect with others or how you don't. And it could be related to how you talk to yourself, even. So let's just pick up at where we left off last time, and that's Scorpio 27. This is a symbol that's related to proudly going about being who you are, even if other people around you are not aligned or don't get it. Basically, not falling back in with the crowd just because who you are and what you are is not being received or recognized. Let me read you a little quote from the symbol, and I'm going to link all of these below if you're interested in researching any of these degrees of the zodiac with a little bit more depth than what we're doing here. At all costs, we must avoid crystallizing trivialities as the permanent circumstances of our lives. Human spirit rejects drabness entirely. Anything that lacks interest lacks worth. Rest and relaxation serve us for a while so that we can recover and recharge our batteries. Yet there is always a danger of foolish self-exploitation when we crave comfort and security more than challenge. We need to check that the temporary compromises that we have made have not sapped our strength of will. It takes resolution and audacity to break away from the comfort zone. In some ways, it's like going to war. Anything of real worth requires that we mobilize ourselves into intense effort. When we press toward worthy goals, then we always evolve. Parts of us are stimulated into expression, which would otherwise remain hidden, undiscovered, and unknown. We grow and it feels exciting. Small matter that the blare of our self-affirmation causes others to flinch. Let them understand that such behavior is best seen as our rejection of lesser experiences. We are not satisfied with the ordinary and claim a larger slice of life. We are so much more than we ever knew and so much bigger than others usually want us to be. What previously seemed an impossible dream is drawn into the realms of reality, becomes hope and then expectation. Through this process, inspiration flows through us into life, transforming everything we touch. All life has a sharpened sense of vitality and potentiality. It's good stuff. All right. And then he moved through Scorpio 26, which is related to adaptability, responding to the changing environmental conditions within which we live, trusting that we can find whatever we need wherever we go. Try though we may, we cannot tame nature, nor ever will, and eventually we succumb to its ways and powers. Yet we can learn through this by observing and tuning into nature, how to adapt comfortably to all situations. We can guard against the worst of it by wearing clothes and building shelter, but in the end we surrender. And this ability, being adaptable, is like gold, since it allows us the freedom to flow without anxiety. So in our culture, we are told that if you change, if you switch up, um, you're wishy-washy or you can't commit, you have commitment issues, you don't know who you are, this, that, and the other thing. There is a resistance to change that is inherent within patriarchal systems because patriarchal systems are all about order and control. and the walling off from anything that is nature or natural or chaotic or feminine or dark or anything like that. There's a lot in this one, especially for those of us who find it difficult to look at hard things or scary things or dark things because of the New Age concept that if you give attention to anything, you are growing it. In some cases, that's very true. But also, if you're going through a transformation of any kind, there are going to be realizations that you have. There are going to be things that are difficult that you have to look at, and acknowledging the thing is the first step to doing things differently. So there's no way around looking at the thing. Acknowledgement of hardship should not imply an unambitious acceptance of things as they are, but rather stimulate us to develop stronger determination and greater abilities. Throughout the ages, hunter-gatherers have commonly relocated, and when making a new camp, expected to be able to collect whatever they required locally. Similarly, when we are in the dynamic flow of life, we find that everything we actually need for our survival, our comfort, and all other purposes can be found close at hand. Not everyone notices and makes claim, yet in every moment there is a wide range and a superabundance of resources and opportunities for new and worthwhile experiences. No map or musical score exists to help us choose or reject the various options. We must extemporize in response to outer situations and inner feelings. If we think outside the box, then even in a seemingly unsupportive environment, we can find what we want. Perceived reality is nothing more than the accumulated result of our own innumerable affirmations and rejections in everyday dealings with the world. The wherewithal exists for us to do whatever we choose and to be whomever we decide to become, as long as we have complete faith to do what feels right according to our personal values and preferences. Yet we do have to engage fully with our current reality in order to claim its benefits. Devotion is a force of manifestation. And in some mysterious way, we create an appropriate set of life circumstances by investing ourselves wholeheartedly in the required outcome. This teaching articulates an inexhaustible capacity for repeated self-establishment as our lives and situations move on through the changes. However, we must work with whatever arises to make it suit our purposes and utilize whatever there is available with the clear intention to act assertively and bend things to our will. Each of us has the gift of resourcefulness and freedom to employ the art. In order to achieve true self-fulfillment, we need to be fully alert to seek and find the possibilities inherent within what there is around us and within us. Such alertness can be practiced and improved. When we have learned how to seek, then we have discovered how to find. A very useful attitude of mind which supports the insight is the enjoyment of the challenge. When we trust in our skillful resourcefulness, then we delight in testing it and showing it. Every new situation is another opportunity to determine that we can cope creatively with whatever comes up, and this faculty is an essential ingredient that characterizes the human species. Okay, let's keep going. Scorpio 25 and X-ray. Seeing beneath the surface to an understanding of life. Reality cannot be understood without going into things deeply and perceiving through the illusion to the truth of life's essential order. Penetrating beneath the surface to know the mysteries. As we progress along the path of realization, we find certain abilities develop. One such skill is to be able to see through the surface form of a person or situation and perceive the inherent structure of their reality. We are not deceived by externals or transitory feelings and shows. This enables us to determine why we are at variance with others, what might be done to find proper alignment, and in simple terms, whether we can help or should we leave. I'm going to leave this one there. The next degree of Scorpio is another very personal one for me. And so I'm enjoying this quite a bit. Scorpio 24, crowds coming down a mountain. grounding spiritual experiences into life. We cannot sustain peak experiences. Mic drop. We must find a way to bring their teachings into normal, everyday life. The magic in the mundane. He says practical application of spiritual principles. Whatever we decide and perhaps manage to achieve in the moment, any root level shift in our way of being must be grounded into our day-to-day experiences and behaviors, or they will not stand. There are always challenges and examinations, and it is all too easy to backslide. We have to find our way to bring higher consciousness into everyday life. And this is the greatest task for a devotee. This is all about how higher realizations are brought into everyday reality. Typically, a person somehow gets into a receptive state. And one example might be meditating on a mountaintop, and then has the task of making an appeal to have their message heard. There is a dimensional difference between the first personal feeling of an idea and the specific, clear articulation of it. Until spoken, the message, in fact, does not even exist. However, the functionality of grounding an idea or spiritual wisdom has as much to do with its initial confirmation as its arising in the mind of the visionary. And going one step further, a single witness is not enough. Any aspiration within the message is meaningless until it achieves practical focus in those realms and events with which people, in general, are familiar. A bridge must be built between the realm of ideas and the realm of behavior, and this must include the establishing of rapport with the audience through empathy with their specific reality. Even ideas are subject to entropy, so the purity of the initial inspiration is always somewhat corrupted as it interfaces with practicality. Principle and expediency dance the dance of heaven and earth, each nothing without the other, yet both engaged in an attempt to dominate. The balance is in responding with innocent wisdom to the practical needs of the moment, yet never gullibly believing that fairies and angels will ever replace human competence. Metamorphosed into a fairy. Refining animal instincts. Some of our baser inclinations can be trained into a higher spiritual expression. Instead of denying our baser passions, we can learn to transform them into a higher expression. For example, we may notice a similarity between the energy of a zealous devotee who has found a way to transform their lust for dominance into an enthusiastic willingness to praise God, and that expressed by a person of violence or sexual extravagance. Imagination is the transition of consciousness that can endow anything with personal meaning. The ability we all have to turn a bunny into a fairy is a quality of the imagination. All things, at least things around us, can be endowed with more profound meaning. This process has no limit, and a transition of consciousness is the inner requirement. Yeah, so this one is big for anyone out there who is like, there are too many signs and synchronicities. There are too many ways of doing things. There are too many options. There are too many books. There are too many paths available to me. I feel overwhelmed and I don't know what to choose. Keep listening because this one's big for you. The imagination is a vast field of potential whose kaleidoscopic reach can easily surprise and delight us. It has a real functionality. Children invent fantasies to help them deal with their troubled lives. We can too. We have values and preferences which are of key importance to us, and life doesn't always respond to them in the way we'd like. Yet, we can be creative by power of imagination and reevaluate externals to come into alignment with internal needs and wants. In this way, we can learn to remold life to suit our sense of what is right and deal with the difficulties we encounter. This is the path of self-conquest by which each individual subordinates their naive and animal impulses to their ideals and aspirations. This idea does not stretch beyond what is workable in life. That would be undisciplined escapism and a distortion of a beautiful spiritual principle. By making the necessary inward transition of consciousness, we can imbue everything with dynamic meaning and give ordinary things a special value. So you get to determine the value and meaning that things have. And it's up to you to pick the path. No one else can pick it for you or show you the way. Scorpio 22 is called Hunters Starting Out for Ducks, and it's also related to primitive animal instincts. The aggressive survival instinct in man cannot easily be ditched. Perhaps it should not be, even if it could be. In an organism as complex as a human being, who can say what would result from denying a powerful instinctual drive? Denied passions do not usually stay long hidden. So meeting them and finding ways to have those needs met in a way that doesn't harm. From the moment we are born, in all things of ordinary frequency and significance, we have a marked tendency to exhibit simple, honest desire. We want what we want, and that's about it. This simple imperative is the motivating force of all life, and without it, we would be constrained to a low-level, need-fulfilling existence of no creative consequence. Yet, it requires of us certain initiatives and creative imagination if we are to enact our desires and stake our claims. This doesn't have to degenerate into a callous exploitation of life, yet it does promote a complete lack of personal inhibition and frustrations as we go about our daily affairs and situations. Day-to-day problems need not be irritating. They are seen to offer a means, in fact, the only dependable means by which to refine our practical skills, moved as we are to perfect our abilities in order to complete our goals. We will find the need to give up something if we want something more. Enterprising people take risks, they lose before they gain, and they understand the dynamic, sequential balance in life called swings and roundabouts, where the ups and downs work themselves out in over time. In the end, we get what we go for. The uncompromising imperative that we enjoy freedom of action speaks to us of the essential nature of our very existence. It is a voice of spirit, and even if it is resisted, it will never be fully thwarted. To engage it requires us to demonstrate the strength of will and unremitting fortitude that is born out of our certainty that we have the sovereign right to self-determination. So yeah, that little voice is not going to go away. How do you partner with it? Scorpio 21 is a spicy one. A soldier derelict in his duty, conscientious objection. Sometimes we must follow our conscience and face the consequences of society's disapproval. This is all about being true to yourself and not self-abandoning. I'm going to put an extra video link next to this one because I think this one is really challenging for a lot of us. We are tested to find out how deep and authentic is our conscience. There is no escaping this because spiritual values are at variance with the values of society to a significant degree. This is particularly true of armed conflict, where normally the individual is forbidden to commit acts of violence because it is morally wrong. The state may demand it of its citizens because it is said to be right when defending the nation, even at times when the nation is not under attack. When tested on issues of conscience, it is good to reflect upon the spiritual benefit of standing on matters of principle. The power of society is greater than we can possibly conceive and tends to force people into unsought situations, as in the example of a conscripted soldier. Yet truly the power of the individual is even stronger. An inner awareness of the truth of who we really are makes it impossible for us to continue on a course of action that is essentially unrewarding or inauthentic. Intuitively, we know, whatever external pressure there may be, that in the deepest sense, we are more responsible to ourselves than the community. Although we feel allegiance to our people, in the end, our feelings of faithfulness are not best applied in service to the common good at all, but to ourselves. In moments of truth, the inner stirrings of spirit expresses a willingness to face all the consequences of true self-assertion. Whenever obligations and desires conflict with each other, the drama of life takes the form of tragedy. This promotes decision, root-level decision, as little else does. What follows this watershed occurrence is a necessary adjustment to bring us into alignment. This deviation is a course correction to put us back on track. That track is toward a self-fulfilling vision, so it may be completely legitimate for a soldier to desert his post. There are consequences, and whether we turn right or left at the crossroads, there always are consequences, and these are unknown and unknowable. Yet the absence of choosing this or that shows no discrimination, and will always attract penalties. Facing court-martial may well be of lesser import compared with soul-level self-betrayal. At such critical points in life, we must trust in our sense of inherent divinity. We are sacred beings who know what to do. We have to do the right thing, trusting it will work out well. Black sheep energy in this one. A courage, cultivating the courage to not self-abandon, not waiting for someone to show you how to do that. You might have examples around you. If you do, that's really cool. Helpful. All right, and finally, we land on where Mercury currently is as of Thursday, the 27th. He's at Scorpio 20, a woman drawing two dark curtains aside. Faith in the future. We have no way to know all that could happen in the future, yet a certain inner attitude makes it possible to trust that all will be well. Through the deepening of faith opening up to an expanded future. Faith is a great and powerful liberator. When we have found its shoreline and grasped its full significance, we begin an exploration of a whole new order of being alive. The veils are drawn aside, and we see more, so much more of what is occurring and why, and what we can do next to add beauty and love to the world. Our appetite for adventure-filled experiences is matched by our courage and curiosity. Life speeds up and the fun starts. Here is the answer to all our questions. I love this whole thing. The vitality of human life is centered in the understanding that there is no ultimate reward to be found until we cross the threshold of common limitation. Animal behaviors are insufficient to inspire us. We need more to feel alive than keeping the species going by creating offspring, whom we feed and house. It is not enough to go to work, to get paid, to buy the shopping and pay the rent. Our desire nature, the passionate queen of all feelings, is directional. It is pointing us to whatever is the most exciting way to penetrate deeper into the mystery. Jack Sparrow's compass, you guys. In the image, a woman has the courage to risk penetrating through darkness. The twin veils of ignorance and fear have to be put aside if we are to be free. Preach. The soul is indeed essentially courageous and free. Its essence stuff is the spirit of daring. If we feel this, and only when we feel this, we are aligning with the soul and its eternal life purpose to have unending adventures. There is a psychological indomitability with which human spirit plunges ahead into every new adventure of accomplishment. We have appetite to do more and reach out beyond what is safe and assured. There is the need for balance, passion and reason, each cooperatively engaged, because taken to a new level of foolishness, this quality of daring can be distorted into silly exhibitionism and crass recklessness. Yet, without some risk of foolishness, we are constrained to be less than we could be. The Fool is the first card in the tarot for a reason. Our very life is not our own unless we grasp the moment at hand and gamble on the probability of our unassailable continuance. All right, so not just the Fool, but very much the High Priestess, who is the second card in the tarot. You have to be the Fool to be able to get to the High Priestess, to be able to part the veils of fear and ignorance. Yeah, the spirit of the depths, they wrote on here, the spirit of the depths is very much with us in this degree of Scorpio. Likely the whole sign, but all right, so that finishes up today's video. If you're here, I think that I will end by saying that if you're exploring these ideas or you're here with me doing this Mercury retrograde study together, a lot of these degrees are talking about a deeper knowing, a deeper ability to see the patterns and how to figure out what you want and to move toward that without so much regard for other people telling you that's not realistic, that's not correct, that's not expected. And especially that you don't have the ability to sense what you're sensing or see what you're seeing. You do. You might have a special gift that others do not, or you may have reconnected with your intuition and your body before other people in your circle have been able to. So trust in that and don't shut down those channels of information and attunement simply because someone you care about, someone you love, is struggling with being here or still living in a mostly fear-based reality. They'll get there on their own time and allow yourself to receive the benefits and the gifts of you having done all of this work and channeled your time, energy, focus, empathy into whatever it is that you were doing to get to that point.